Hey folks, getting ready to start building a custom bait caster. It's going to be my jackhammer rod primarily. I will use it as a spinner bait rod from time to time as well, but for the most part it's going to see a lot of activity with the jackhammer. But I have an artifact here. You can see the date on that. It says 1107. This is the last bait caster that I had made. Actually, it was the first. It wasn't the last. I did a swim bait rod in between. Built a whole lot of spinning rods myself, but this one saw a lot of use. This one actually caught my personal best smallmouth at 6 pound 10 ounces on a big 3/4 ounce spinner bait. So much has changed in rod building in the almost 16 years since I built that. I built this the month before my son Cooper was born, and he turns 16 later this year. So that's a big gap. There's a lot of things that have changed with custom rod building since then, and I'm kind of hitting it cold. I'm kind of starting over, if you will. So folks at Batson, in particular, Mike Thorson, has really walked me through what I need to build on this blank, which I already have the real seat on there. But this is a Rainshadow Judge, and it's kind of a blend of 3 different materials. It does have glass here in the butt for extra strength, but it also has a good bit of graphite that's it's going to help with the sensitivity, so I can know as soon as, you know, I've picked up a little bit of grass on that vibrating blade up front. I can also feel if I'm running it into rocks or logs or mud or gravel or whatever it is. So I do want that sensitivity, but I also want a moderate fast rod for the bladed jig. So here we go. It's time to start building the first bait caster. That's a really light blank too, in almost 16 years. So I do have a nice new rod wrapper and drying apparatus here. This is a lot more than what I had, you know, like I said, 16 years ago when I was building my own rods. Actually set up an individual motor to spin it, and I laid it on a cardboard box that I put a notch in. That was my rod building setup back then. So got some cork. I knew this is already sort of pre-done. All of this cork work that I did back then was individual rings of cork that I shaped and put on there and compressed and epoxied, and you know, it's pretty unique. It's really shaped to fit my hand, and I can do some of that with this. We're gonna see though. But the first thing I need to do is to make sure that the spacing is right of the butt, and when I slide that on there, you know, I'm using my old rod as a guide, and am I happy with that distance? Really, I'm not. And I think what I want to do is to chop maybe 2 inches off the butt of that, and that's going to give me, you know, the placement, because the length of the butt is important for kayak anglers to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to take this outside and chop 2 inches off that. All right, I'm chopping it right there. That's actually going to change this from a 7-foot rod to a 6'10". I actually like that idea because it's going to help me with those close quarters fishing, where I got to make multiple short casts, you know, close to the bank. I'm going to get done with this, and I'll show you how it's all going to lay out. By the way, look at that antique. Some of the tools I get to use here on the farm here in Maryland. Okay. All right, that should space it out right. Yep, looks good. All right, now that we have a 610 rod instead of a 7, and I know that reel seat is gonna come down and really get the right spacing. I don't know if this still applies. Before I even get into this, I should say, if you see me doing something and you think, Jeff, that's not right, you're teaching the wrong thing. Well, I'm learning as I go, and I don't really want to tell you that I'm an expert. It's been years since I've built a rod. Please comment and say, no, Jeff, you got to do it like this, or this is how I do it, and it gives me a better result than what you just did. I need that. I'm looking for that. But I also want to show that, you know, even though I've built rods in the past, you know, there's a lot I have yet to learn. In your comments, if you are an experienced rod builder, please comment. But what I'm doing here, I'm trying to find the spine of the rod, and basically I want to mark it here with this China marker, this kind of wax pencil here. What I want to do is to line up the guides so that they're in line with it. The idea is that it won't, as you're fighting a fish, that it won't want to kind of favor one side or the other as you're fighting it. I tell you, I built a lot of rods without doing this, and they turn out okay. But I am going to find it. Yep, right there. That's the wobble point. Okay. So, right there. Right there. Right there. Let's start putting some things on this butt. All right, perhaps I jumped ahead a little bit. This, with all the notes on there, this is the parts number for the build list. You can get these on the on the Batson website, but what I want to look up now, based on the blank, these are the line spacing. So if you go to the guide spacing, what we want is this build print right there. Okay, so I'm going to click on the link here at the bottom. Actually, no, it's just this big red thing right here. Click on that, and you're going to go in alphabetical order based on that blank. The blank that I'm using is the Judge, so it starts with JDG CB 70MH-CG. I'll look that up, I'll print it out, I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. But it's going to tell me, you know, how to measure out where, you know, from the butt to the tip guide, where everything should go. I've modified it, I've chopped off 2 inches, so that's my change to this, but that's all it is shortening that butt length. So let me look this up, and I'll print it out here. First one's a parts list. Second one shows spacing from the butt to the reel seat to the foregrip. A little bit about the shim, maybe? I don't know, I'll find out. And then the rest are the guides. Alright, I got the spacing guide here, a tape measure, and some of the parts. I got, you know, the butt cap, and then this cork piece that fits up against it. I will need to ream that out, and I got a reamer here. It's a nasty looking sucker. When I did this before, it was just a round file, and it probably took a lot longer than what this this menacing looking medieval torture tool is. Whew. It's pretty cool looking. All right, I'm gonna put that away. I'm gonna space everything out and measure it. I'm hoping that this reel seat ends where I need it to naturally, and I don't have to do much in the way of shims. But what goes on before that? All right, I'm gonna just lay it out here, and I'm gonna show you what I got, just in order. All right, here are all the parts that I got that matches up with this. So we have the butt cap, this piece here, which it's actually supposed to be an EVA fighting butt, but I wanted cork, and I talked to Mike, and he said these two pieces are going to work. This is going to be epoxied on with that rod bond at the end, but this I'm going to need to ream out, but that takes the place of the EVA fighting butt that we have here. Number 3, we look at this list, is a black winding check. I didn't do these before. This is something new since I've been, 16 years ago building my own rods. Another winding check there. So number 3 and 3. So there and there on the split grip. Number 4 corresponds. This all makes sense. This makes it easy. Split grip, high and EVA, cork, whatever. It's going to be this piece, and that fits neatly into the base of this. So number 5, according to the list, graphite trigger blank exposed black is right there. Then we go to 6. You get what I'm saying. And then another winding check. So it's all there. It actually lays it out really nice for you. So this we're going to set aside. This we're going to ream out and slide it down the rod until it sits, just shy of the end, so that this can fit on there. And we continue with this. I don't think we're going to need these shims. So the shims are something that if the position of this is such that you have space in between the blank and the inside walls of this, you can shape this to fill in that spot. But I think it's gonna jam on in exactly the right space. These I did do before, and they're somewhat of a pain, but it's important, because if you don't do that right, you don't have the sensitivity you need, because I actually have a bunch of older custom rods where the shim kind of disintegrated on the inside, and the reel seat was just kind of like wiggly and wobbly. So alright, let me start reaming out that piece. So if you just slide this on as is, it's only going to get about halfway down the rod. So what you're going to do is take the reamer. It's going to work. And look at those teeth. Just start chewing into that, man. Just in the deeper you get into it, and I think you can put this on a. I may do that. Let me go grab a cordless drill and just whip through this. Be right back. Now it should go a little bit quicker. You don't want to go too quick though, because it's, you end up with taking out what you can't put back. But I'm gonna just chew through that till I get to the other side, because I know it's gonna need at least. Man, I gotta keep that straight. Oof. Alright, let me back it out of there. See how far that gets me. I know looking at that, it's still only part way down, but I'm at least gonna have a sense of how far. So I'm like a little more than 2/3 of the way down. And if you look at it, I'm not really centered. Ooh, that wasn't good. So I'm gonna be careful and maybe come in the other side and shave off more on this side. It's getting there, but I'm rubbing off my spine lines. Getting close. I already hit it, and as I'm bringing it down, it's just kind of sitting right at the end there. And then, look at that, that goes on there. So the next step is that we use the rod bond to get it on there. But I am gonna chase it with a winding check after I do the rod bond. Do I do this all at once, or do I, maybe I set this aside and do all my rod bond at one time. But at least I know I've reamed out that cork for the butt, the fighting butt, correctly. Let's move further up the line, and we got this piece to ream out. Let's go ahead and start. It really, like, this is going quickly, and it feels like cheating compared to what I did 16 years ago and doing individual rings just one at a time. And I don't know, I mean, it certainly made a product that stood the test of time, but this is quicker, and I don't know, it might be cleaner in the end. We'll see. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be cleaner. The old way I'd stack all the cork and use just like hardware store epoxy, and I had this, they had these two wooden pieces with the metal, just a threaded rod connecting them, and you would compress it downward with turning, you know, wing nuts, and it would smush it all, and then you'd wipe all your excess epoxy. It would squirt out the sides, you'd wipe it down, and then let it sit overnight. This is way quicker. I think I'm there, but I've obscured the line. Nope. I got 2 inches to go. And I've rubbed off the wax line, seeing if it'll fit. Just keep checking, keep reaming, keep checking. Yep, we're there. So I will take this off, get the winding check on either side. How's this gonna work? That's gonna seat on there. This is just gonna thread in on top. And then I guess it's just exposed blank up from there. I think I'm done reaming. So let's get the rod bond out. Get rid of all this. And I think we mix the rod bond up in equal parts. And I start with this one. Alright, let's read some directions on the rod bond, resin, and hardener. What it says is you're putting equal parts by volume into a suitable mixing container. I got these little medicine cups here, and a little stick, popsicle stick. Blend thoroughly for about 2 minutes at temperature above 62. Check that on the temperature. It's a steamy 89 degrees here in late August in Maryland. Mixed material is useful for about 45 minutes at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, so I think we're good. Apply a small amount to mating parts, join, and wipe away the excess. Clamping is not required unless minimum glue is desired, such as cork rings, which we're not really doing. Cure for 24 hours, remains tough and flexible indefinitely. This is actually the same product I used 16 years ago. I know I mentioned the just the hardware store epoxy. By the time I got to this one, this was probably my 4th rod that I built. I'd started using this stuff here. So yeah, let's mix equal parts and do 2 minutes of stirring. I do sort of wonder if this stuff's any good for gluing bristle guards and jigs. Might have to try it. All right, I got 2 minutes of stirring thoroughly. We're gonna take this first piece, slide it on there. I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna say most of the way down there. And we're gonna slather this part, and it should scooch it down into the places that I need it to hold. That's way more than I need, I know it. It's all right though. I will get some of this back in just a moment when we scooch it down. Oh, look at all that excess. So I'm going to collect that. And honestly, some of it's going up on the side because I need it to put that cap on, which is going to happen like right away. In fact, I'm going to just start slathering up here with the excess that's coming off. I'll be able to sand this later if there's any squirting out the side. I'll wipe it off. But, yeah, let's stick that down. Scooch that down. Get it right to the end. There. We're good. Alright, so, you know what? I'm just going to take this as it is, scooch it on there, and collect the rest here. Now I got a paper towel there, I'll just wipe it. Okay, so that's set. I'm just going to clean that around there. Now, let's look back at our spacing guide, just to remind us, what is next? What do we got? Number 3, it's a winding check. Not done one of these before. Do I need to epoxy the winding check? I don't know. I really don't know. Probably a little bit. I think what it's hiding, you can see that a little bit of a gap in between the blank because it's not perfectly round. It's pretty good with that reamer. Is it perfect? No. The winding check hides that. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it as is. There's a little bit of epoxy in that area. I'm going to call that good enough. Man, that looks clean. Does that not look clean? Cleaner than any other one that I've built. All right. So the next thing is a winding check, and this one has to be faced, you know, the last one was faced this way. This one is kind of opposite because it's gonna touch that right there. It's gonna fit right in there, but I got to get this in place first. We'll get the winding check in first. Down it goes. Now we're putting that in. So this part faces up because it fits neatly in the base of the reel seat like that. It's got a nice little groove there that fits in there. So slide this on. Down she goes. Get it close. And I'm going to slather up. Yeah, that's where it should be. I'm going to scoot the winding. Actually, I'm going to leave the winding check as a marker for how far down it goes. Look at that. There's our marker. So we take this. Get some of this epoxy. It's resin with the hardener. Scooch it down. Right before it gets to the winding check, I'm gonna wipe off the excess. Yep. All right. Right there at the winding check. And I'm going to do a finger jam. Somehow that seems like it's the best tool. The reel seat. Now, I have not done a shim in this. Oh, I'm not. I didn't have to jam it on, but it's in a good spot. Okay. I'm almost done, actually. I did way too much epoxy. Right now. Just wipe the excess. So this is going to be the basis. Like with this part done, I get to move up in the blank and really start, you know, wrapping on the all of the guides. I'm going to put some up on that cork. It's going to be a nice short butt for a kayak angler, bait caster. The reason we do short butts is the butt kind of rubs on the life jacket and can give you some false strike indication, which is no good. All right, so yep, that just scoots down. Now, I'm going to have to look at, yep, there's my spine. You can see my spine line. And I want to scoot this down underneath it. And we're going to just scoot that on. Compress it. And I'm wiping all this off. Not onto my pants, but onto that towel, paper towel. Compressing it from both sides. Man, it's a great start. And then we do have this piece that I think I'm going to mess around with later. I'm going to let this much of it cure. It's starting to look like a fishing rod, isn't it? Pick up work on it another day. Not tomorrow though. I'm going fishing tomorrow, Sunday. Pick up with it on Sunday. I did forget something. That's why these are so important. There's a winding check that has to go down on that. So, wasn't quite done, but that's why it's nice that Batson does the work for you. So you don't mess it up. You got good plans. Oh yeah, that's going on. Nice. And then this can go on later. All right. Stay tuned for part 2.